Hello YouTube! Welcome to episode 15 in my Digital Aquarium Controller series. This is the final major episode in the series, the build and review. Today we go over all the pieces that we have built in the previous episodes, bolt them in place, and see how the system works. First, a quick recap. This is the proposed design of the system, as outlined in episode 1. In the past few episodes, 13 and 14, we covered adding the Raspberry Pi and website aspects. Using the testing shield, built in episode 10, I have continued to develop and refine the code, and it was finally ready to install back in August. Links to the updated code on the GitHub are in the description. Unfortunately, my camera was stolen, and with it, the before and after footage I'd intended to use for this video. That dampened my spirit for a while, and has made this all a bit more difficult, but the show must go on. Let's see if I can show you what was done. First, the Raspberry Pi, level shifter, and control board were mounted into the control box with the Arduino Mega and the relays. Then the PC power supply, modified in episode 4, was bolted in place. The control box was mounted above it and power was connected. This is where all the peripherals will connect. Of the peripherals, the DS18B20 thermometer array that we built and tested in episode 3 is the first and easiest one to connect. This is attached to the wooden stand with cable mounts, and the thermometers are dropped into the relevant tanks. Next, we mount and connect the 120 volt AC relay units for lights, heaters, and power heads from episode 5. The SSR unit is connected on the left and the power heads are plugged in. The 4 relay power strip goes on the right, with heaters, plant lights, and sump lights plugged into the relevant ports. The 5 volt and signal lines are run back into the electronics enclosure and connected to the controller. The top-off and water level sensors from episode 6 are slightly more involved. The valve assembly is mounted to the back of my tank stand, and using a PVC adapter it's plumbed into my RO storage tank. The control lines for this unit are connected to the controller. The water output tubes are measured, cut, and routed to each sump. One for the Reef, one for the planted tank. Then the water level sensors are mounted on the sumps and connected to the valve assembly. I connected them wrong at first, so when the Reef was low, it topped off the planted tank. Oops! No big deal, switch the connectors, we're all good now. The DHT11 humidity sensor from episode 7 is connected to the control panel and then run under the carpet and up the wall, attached to the door trim several feet away from the tank. This will give a better idea of the room temp and humidity than the sensors in the tank stand. Now, the 74HC595 ship register based LED moonlight from episode 8 is mounted using some aluminum wire to the top of the canopy over the Reef. And finally, the NextDN display from episode 9. This isn't fully installed, as it's intended to mount in the door, which I haven't built yet. But for now, it's connected and then placed on the ground. Now for a tiny demo. First, the manual controls via NextDN. I apologize for the shoddy camera work. Touching the blue light toggle button switches to actinic blue lights. Then I switch to pure white. And then turn off the power heads. Other functions like turning off heaters don't really show well on camera. Now let's take a look at the website. This is the website that I use to control my tank controller. You can look here on this first status panel and you can see the lights are on. You can see how high the levels are, how much top off was used yesterday for the Reef, if it's topping off right now, if not, if the heaters are on, if the fans are on. There's no fans connected at the moment. The Reef temp, room temp, plant temp, humidity, dew point in the room. Our control panel temp always runs high. I'll show you that later, especially when the lights are on. You can see the last time the system got reset and any errors that were thrown. The NextDN tends to throw an error every now and then. My charting needs a little work still, but I've got most of the useful charts in place here. This one is showing how much top-off has been used per day and the temperature of the reef tank. You can see it stays pretty stable. The chart that's the red line is supposed to be the heater going on and off. It doesn't quite track right. I need to work on that part of the chart a little bit more. This chart also, the environment temperature, I'm loading 4 different readings for a week. It takes it a while to load. And you can see the yellow line there, how much warmer the control panel, that's the actual controller box, gets, and how it drops down at night. I think it's the relays that warm it up a little bit. Not an issue though, it doesn't really jump above 86, which is not a problem. And then here we can see all our settings and change them if we want. And that's it! The system's been up and running for about 6 months now. The biggest issue I've had so far was related to a bad solder joint in the connector that joined the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino. This was causing an intermittent loss of connection, and intermittent issues suck. It took me a while to find it. Once that was fixed, it's run quite smoothly. The graphing will be a long-term work in progress. I'll update the web code on GitHub as it progresses. Thank you all for joining me on this ride. The next project will be a smaller ESP8266 based controller that links into this for other tanks. It's mostly complete, and I expect to have a video or 2 out on that soon. If interested, click subscribe to see the updates as they're posted. And click like on this video if you liked it. Until next time, thanks for watching.